So
Yeah.
I am super excited this morning. For those that don't know, my name is Jasmyne Epps. I am the unit director for GovHub here at the Georgia Technology Authority and the group that I work with, Digital Services Georgia. And I'm really excited to be here today. This is my first GovChats, hopefully not the last. But I'm really excited to be here today to talk with Naim Razzak. He is the Director of Innovation and Technology at the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. And today we're going to talk about a really cool program and application that they implemented called FAMLI. It's an application and program that allows the state of Colorado employees to more easily access paid leave insurance. So we're going to get going here and have a discussion, get into a little bit of talks about technology, all of the success stories that came out of this. So let's get going with, start by telling us how this project came about.
All right, sure. So before we start, I think I I just introduced the formal name of the program, which is the Paid Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program, and it's known in short as FAMLI. And in the year 2020, the Colorado voters passed a Proposition 118 that basically approved this program. And a fun fact that Colorado's paid family leave program is the only one in the U.S. that was pushed through at the ballot box. So that's something we take with pride.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. So you saw this program as a need for state employees. Can you tell me a little about the research to confirm this assumption?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that this was voted in by the citizens of Colorado, that kind of is a testament to the fact that this was a very highly sought after program. People understood the value of it, and prior to the voting, of course, there was an actuarial study done to understand the need for such a program and the solvency factor for such a program, to make sure that uh, once we launch this program, we won't run into any financial issues, and it will remain solvent, all that. And so a lot of deep research was done into it, and that gave us the confidence and all the indicators that that needed to, I mean, basically told us that this was the right thing to do, were basically green, and people felt confident. And I think that also gave the boost to the voters to vote this in.
Yeah, absolutely. Having that um, idea that something is the right thing to do is definitely something that we like to tout in the government. A lot of the times we see a lot of invisible needs, so that's great. So can you tell us a little bit also about your approach to procurement, and also talk about like the system architecture, like how did the process of product development go, because product development is also something kind of new in the government space as well, like that whole practice. So we'd love to hear more about the product development and what are some of the things that influenced some of your decisions.
Yeah, great question, Jasmine. Um, so one of the things that we like to remind ourselves within our organization here is that, unlike a for-profit organization in the private sector, we did not have the luxury of doing any kind of market segmentation and then choosing one or two groups of customers that we wanted to serve first with the MVP, and then expand into other groups. Uh, we had to serve everybody with equity in mind, uh, all eligible workers, and partnering with employers as well. And it had to be served from day one. And we had a very specific legislatively mandated launch date. So that brought in a lot of challenges that necessitated us to look into the procurement, how we procure the technology, how we architect, how we design our operational functions, as well as the contact center. Even all that had to be taken into account, and so yes, that factor played a key role. And then there's also the vision, like what kind of a program did we want to be, right? Did we just want to be a program that met the requirements from the legislature and be compliant, or did we want to actually honor the spirit of the law, right? And one thing that I credit our division director Tracy Marshall quite a bit with is that she had set the vision and the clarity around it upfront, right from the get-go, when she basically, when she said that we are going to build a program that it will mesh with the population, will understand the needs of the population and be there when they need it. One of the things that Tracy, often says, and that stuck with me and with us, is that the when the people of Colorado, interact with the system to file a claim for a benefit, they will do so when they are at their most vulnerable state in their lives, right? So what that means is what we wanted to do is make sure that we remove all kinds of friction in terms of interaction with the technology. We took very great care in understanding the socioeconomic diversity within the state, right? And then build a system that worked for everybody. So that was very important to us. And then there was the constraints, right? So by the time the leadership was put together, initially it was just Tracy and myself, and then there was another person, Lydia, who was working on the rules and documenting the rules and all that. So at a very initial stage, it was just 3 or 4 of us, and we had just over 12 months to deliver the first system, which was the revenue or the premium system, right? And there was hardly any procurement activities that had happened at that time. There was no processes, no teams in place. I mean, it was basically a startup, right? And with that came with a very strict um, uh, launch date, right? So our work was cut out, and as a result, we took very great care in what we did and how we procured our systems and how we architected them. For example, for procurement, we wanted to make sure that uh, we had the capability to take any corrective actions if, as we're building along, we run into issues, things go sideways, we can we can remedy this, the situation quickly and ourselves without without getting stuck in contractual, landmines. So some of the things that we insisted on was, for example, that we contracted um, technology partners who was very capable of building solutions from ground up on industry platform. Like our premium system is built on Salesforce. Our benefit system is built on AWS with .NET platform, and so it was very important that we chose a strong partner who can build it from ground up. What that basically meant is that the state would own the data as well as the code that was developed to stand up the system. So we need to own both the data and the code. And we insisted on not going with any off-the-shelf solution, even though going with off-the-shelf solution would have been a little faster option, but we still did not go with that option because we wanted to stay true to our vision, where we will we need to be flexible, nimble, agile with how we develop the system and how we are able to change with the times and with the dynamics of the workforce, right? So that was very important to us. So that, of course, so these are some of the things that necessitated that we took a very keen interest in how we procured and also the architecture. And one last thing is that I think that also played a key role here is that we in FAMLI took total control over the product management aspect of it. So we were, we were the main decision makers and the key players in prioritizing what got built as part of MVP and what didn't get built, what could wait a little bit. All those decisions were owned by us. So because basically taking our own destiny in our own hands, and it had to be done to de-risk the build, stay with the vision. And I think that's what I would say that was unique with us.
There's so much you said there that I want to highlight. I mean, just having the foresight to know that it was important to own the code, own the roadmap, just shows, good stewardship of tax dollars in the long run. Because yeah, you could have gotten something off the shelf, but it would have been probably more time and effort to tailor it to your state employee's specific needs. But it'd been harder to maintain in the long run, and cost more money, to
Right,
keep.
absolutely.
Yeah, but knowing that it was important to be able to control the roadmap and control the code and have access to that. Really also shows your future facing, your forward thinking. Like, we want to be able to leave room to scale this, to grow this, to be adaptable to, like you said, change in technology and things like that. So that's amazing. I definitely want to point that out. But there's another thing you said about usually when people have to interact with the government, it's not always in the most delightful circumstances or the most fun circumstances. It could be something as simple as having to get your driver's license, which isn't, the most glamorous thing. But it could be also something as serious as, needing to get insurance for, some kind of event in your life. And so you don't want to be burdened with a lot of unnecessary friction, like you said. And so, removing that friction is a pillar of accessibility and usability. So that definitely leads me to my next question. So what were some of the usability and accessibility considerations that you all took when creating this application?
Yeah, so so we took our time to do the due diligence and invested heavily in human-centered design concepts upfront. We took our time to do the discovery to understand the socioeconomic diversity within our state, understand the challenges that many of the the workers who the eligible workers, the challenges that they will face in terms of connectivity, in terms of tech savviness, and in terms of the devices that they have at their disposal. So all these things had to be considered. And one of the things that we did, which I think was very beneficial, is about 2 months prior to the launch, we engaged an independent tester, a testing team that went around the state, especially in those remote areas where we thought there would be connectivity challenges and all that. And they went there with their computers. They tried to interact with our system, file claims using like out-of-date browsers, very old systems, phones that are not supported anymore, right? As well as the latest and the greatest smartphones. Even where they would walk into libraries there to basically access the internet just to see if they can file a claim without any issues, because there could be latencies and all that. So all those tests were done. And from that, we did get a lot of great feedback, which we then rectified on our system. So when we launched, when the time came for launch, we felt confident that we did make a dent in any equity issues, right? So that really helped us in terms of how we design our usability. And one other thing that I wanted to also say is that so in terms of usability, so we took great care in not just how the system interacted with the user, the employee groups, but also with the employers. Because we had to partner closely with the employers for this to be successful, because they play a key role in premium withhold, paying into the system, and then submitting wages on a quarterly basis. We had to make sure that we understood how our employers worked, and we did everything that we could do to minimize their admin burden. So we automated a lot of the things. Of course, there are lots of room for improvements, but we at least took some steps to make their lives not so hard. Basically, we didn't want to make it very difficult for our employers to interact with us. So we took we took care into making sure that they were taken care of as well. So those are some of the things. And one other thing that came out of this, and I think this ties into the architectural approach, is that what we were able to launch was, we launched what we call an HR dashboard for the employers, where the employers could log into their system and see the claims and the status of the claims of their individual employees or their respective employees, which then help them do any other calculations and top of services that they wanted to do for the employees, right? So this HR dashboard that we call is the first in the country. So we were the first ones, and we may be the only one at this point who launched this for the employers in mind. So just wanted to say that we went both ways in terms of usability.
That's really awesome to hear. I mean, especially like the part about going all over the state, I could imagine that there are really rural areas, mountain areas of Colorado that, a lot of times when we think about accessibility, we're always thinking about what can an accessibility checker spot? What can those automated tools help us identify in the code and the usability of the things? But less than half of what needs to be audited for accessibility can actually be done by a machine. A lot of it is manual, going out, testing, actually interacting with people with disabilities, and not just people with physical disabilities, situational disabilities as well, like being in rural areas and not having the fastest internet speeds. So that's really awesome. I mean, I've heard so many already, but what are some of the key decisions that you think were crucial to you all's success?
Yeah, so basically, I think going with an open architecture and going with the strategy of owning the code as well as the data, and then controlling. I'm taking the ownership of the product management roles, which basically helps you be in control of what gets built along the way, right? And then what gets released as part of the MVP, which is the minimum viable product, right? The first the version 1.0, what needs to go out there, and there are a lot of difficult decisions that needed to be made in those circumstances, and we knew that any technology contractors will struggle with making those decisions between, okay, what was really mandated from the legislature, and what is really needed at this point, as part of the version 1, and what can wait a little bit. Those kind of decisions only the agency can make, because they understand the legislation very well, especially both the letter and the law, right? So so that's why owning the product management role was very important. And another key thing that we did, I think that really helped us, was to do a soft launch of that version 1 at least 2 months prior to the actual launch date. And what that allowed us to do is basically, launch and then work with certain small group of employers, and then later on with workers who eligible workers who was able to come in and register and file claims before the launch date. What that gave us is that a chance to look at our system, rectify the issues. We knew there would be things that we probably had missed, and that gave us enough time to fix those problems, as well as from a operational setup, right? It was the first time we were even building the entire organization, the operations, and then the contact center, and then the policy, and all kinds of, and then the training, right? So all of them needed some practice, some practice run with the real data, right? And then so that gave them that, and then so we were able to tweak and fix the issues that we found at that time. So what that basically allowed us to do is that by the time the actual launch date came, which was, let's say, January 1st, that day was just a media day. We didn't even have to worry about anything. We didn't sweat anything because we knew it was ready, right?
Yeah.
So that was, I think, what an important thing to do.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Like you mentioned, like the dev partners, they're there for the support and the technology, but yeah, they can't make the same types of decisions when it comes to what is the most important thing to get done and what is maybe hanging on some legislation or something like that. When we're refining our backlog for GovHub, we use rice scoring. It's a method of prioritizing your tickets, but we add that P on the front and call it price scoring for politics, because sometimes we just have to do it because somebody, some state agency is saying that it has to be done. So that is a factor, when trying to prioritize your backlog. So I can totally relate there. I want to go back to you mentioning the timeline, which, for all that don't know, a 12-month timeline for something like this is extremely aggressive. It is, for in the government space especially. So tell us a little bit about how you were able to stay compliant as well as stay on budget with this project.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So in terms of compliance, so going back to defining the MVP, the version 1, so what we did is that we knew that we could not have implemented and delivered all the functionalities that was required in the law in version 1. But then we also realized that not all of them were needed on day 1. Some of them could come a little later, right? And that's where a lot of debates had to happen between the product, the business, and the policy, right? So what we did is, at a very early stage, we involved the policy in all our planning meetings, all our key decision making, meetings where they were part of the whole process, and I would give a lot of kudos to our policy team, because they understood that it's a game basically that you play, that yes, from a title in terms of a compliant functionality that needed to be there, but when you drill down, some of them could be just phased out a little bit, and some of them needed to be there in version 1, and they were able to, and they cooperated with us, right? And we had those very fun meeting in discussions on a regular basis. So I think that was very important, and that kept us compliant, as well as de-risk the launch of the product. So I would definitely attribute to the willingness of the policy team to work with us and do that. And also from our business leadership, it was very clear as to what we were trying to do here, right? So they also helped us shed a lot of light. They brought in a lot of industry experience, and helped us also understand with a lot of, helped us with a lot of decisions that we were also struggling ourselves as to whether or not certain features was really important for the users. And coming from the industry in the private sector, a lot of our leadership basically were able to bring in those insights that helped us. So I think these are the factors that helped us stay compliant, on target in terms of timeline, and also budget. So we were able to keep tight control over the budget as well.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes you'll have these discussions and you start development, and sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? Like you'll developing and then something comes up and you're like, oh, this would be a good idea. You create a ticket and then you get ready to refine it, and maybe it goes to the bottom of the backlog. It's something that we can get to later, but it's good to, document all of those thoughts. So that's pretty cool. So I guess now you built the product, like you said, you were very confident at launch date. So can you tell us about that day, like the communication and the launch of this?
All right. So our communication strategy was very robust. So we started communicating from a very early stage of the development process, right? So for example, the first system that was launched was the premium system, which is for the employers who would then, for them to come in and work with the system and make the payments, the premium payments, as well as upload the wages. But we made sure that the employer community was informed. They knew what was coming. We sought their insights as well from day one. By day one, from early stage, right? And so there are a lot of communication that we did in that context. And then there were a lot of dedicated presentations that were offered to reach specific audience. With QA, we did a lot of hybrid town halls in the cities across the state, monthly live webinars for both the employers as well as the employee community, and answered questions that they come in, social media, right? And then we also did a lot of robust advertisement, like advertising campaign targeting employers ahead of the launch, like I said, TV, billboards, radio, all those things were engaged. So
right.
yeah. So I'm really proud of our communication team. They're very efficient and they did all the right things, and that helped.
Yeah, because even though this is something that it was just geared for state employees, it's good to advertise to the state, like some of the things that you're doing to help state employees, that may attract more talent, So I think that's great. That's amazing. So, communicating the launch and having this program, I would assume there's a lot of success stories and things behind it as well. So I'm definitely interested in hearing, what are some of the metrics that you guys measured after launch, and are there any specific success stories or feedback that you've gotten since you've launched?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's what, 7 months since we launched our benefit system. So far, we have almost 100,000 claims filed, and there wasn't any backlog that we had to deal with. The whole program worked smoothly. Even our contact center has very short wait time for callers. It's around 15 seconds in the queue, so that's like amazing for a government program. One of the things that we are really particularly proud of is that of the almost 100,000 claims that has happened so far, more than 96% of them were self-filed, so basically self-served. So people logged into the portal themselves. They felt comfortable doing the whole process, and they did it themselves. So right, and a very little. Just less than 4%, I would say, of the claims were filed through phone calls into our contact center. And then of those ones that were self-served, 50%, almost 50% of them were done on their mobile phones. Wow. So that also says, how efficient our portal is, right? And and the amount of design thinking that went into it. So that was so that's one thing that we really try to emphasize and we take pride in. And in terms of like actually making an impact into lives, we have lots of anecdotal stories, a lot of things like where people called us back to tell us that how impressed they were with the service, and that even to say that, some of them even said that this program actually saved their lives, because they were going through certain issues. They needed to take some time off to deal with those issues, while at the same time not worry about paying the bills, right? So this made a huge difference in their lives. I mean, some of the uh, some of the comments were like, easiest disability claim process ever. That's the kind of emails that we get, right? And then yeah, so these are really things that we take into heart,
Yeah,
and that gives
that,
us the feeling that we're on the right path.
yeah, that's awesome because it's like in government, a lot of times, a lot of what we do is seems invisible or kind of
Yeah.
thankless sometimes, and but we do it for stories like that where people are really being impacted by the work that we're doing. And so to hear that you got that kind of response is just incredible. I'm really happy for you guys, and definitely want to have some more conversations with you and behind the scenes to talk more about this, and share some other thoughts for our team and our products and things like that. So this is great. I almost wish that I was a Colorado state employee so I could tap into this and see what it's about. But no, this is great, Naim. I appreciate you walking us through this. So before we wrap up, would you like to share anything else about the application?
Well, yeah, I can share, maybe do a quick tour of our claimants process screens and see what
Absolutely.
it looks like, all right? And just to give a teaser. Okay, so let me see if you can see it. Let me know.
Yeah.
All right. So I've already logged in. We use the login.gov as our authentication services. I've logged in because there's also like the multi-factor authentication that needs to go through. It'll send you a code in your phone and all that. So I skipped that. So I'm into my account, right? So this is where you would see how much what the leave balance is. At this point is showing that I have not taken any, right? And then payments information as to what was the last payment amount and what's next, right? So like it's very simple, clear, and gave you the information that you would really want to know, firsthand.
Yeah.
And then if you're ready for filing a claim, of course, here you can view all your claims. I have none actually, so I picked a very bad account. It's kind of empty, but just to give you an idea. So if you want to start a claim, you just click on that start claim. You basically then select their information about the different types of leave here. And there's as to what who's eligible, and and uh, and then the different factors that goes into this benefit and what they'll receive, what they expect to receive. And then you would hit, and then you go to the next page. There are some certain questions here that needs to be answered, to make sure that the claimant is actually eligible. So are you currently employed? I would say yes. Are you receiving any unemployment benefit? I would say no, because that's not allowed. And then have you applied for benefits under workers' compensation? I would say no, because also there may be like eligibility issues. And are you either self-employed or employed by local government? I would say no, in this case, in my case. And then so conditions to review, and then are you a designated representative? Am I representing somebody else? In this case, no, I would say. So I'll just go in here and then fill in the forms. I could do that very quickly.
I like how it goes ahead and fills in your name. That's just
Right.
like one less thing. Yeah.
Just do that. Gender, female, and move on. Will you use SSN? Okay. So here, this is where I have to enter stuff,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
which I'm trying not to enter, right?
yeah.
Okay. And then the the next thing that that'll happen if you see here is that it'll ask for some employer information, right?
Mhm.
And then and then like other leave details that you want that's needed. That's important to you as to what kind of leave and that kind of information will be prompted here, and then it will do and at some point it will do an like a I uh, um, ID verification of the person. So if in this case it'll investigate, it'll make sure that I am who I say I am, right? All the it has my information. It will do a thorough investigation on my ID, and once I pass that, right, then it basically after that you hit the submit button and you're good to go. And after that it goes into adjudication and yeah, and the benefit checks go out.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, this is, I mean, just at first glance, this looks
Yeah.
extremely to navigate. Um, I can read everything. It's very accessible, you
Yeah,
know.
I should have picked a different account. Sorry about that. I didn't think about
No,
it.
this is quite enough. This is it definitely illustrates the hard work that went into this. So thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Thank you.
I can hit that leave quickly button. Yeah, so
Yeah,
you know
leave,
what that is?
get out
Yeah,
of
so
there.
basically, yeah, if you're filing for a claim and if you're doing it for your self-care and let's say domestic abuse and all that, and while
Mhm.
you're doing it, if someone just walks in, you don't want them to see
You
that
don't want
you are
to see that
actually trying to
information.
file for this claim. You can hit that button to
That's
quickly
wonderful.
leave, so nobody knows. There's no trace of what you were doing.
Yeah.
So
Oh wow.
that's something we did.
That's yeah. I never even thought of that. That's amazing that you guys thought of something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, that's a very sensitive situation that you would, maybe have to be filling out this information for. So that's awesome. I love it. Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah, of
Naeem. That's
course. Anytime. My pleasure.
um thank you. I really enjoyed our conversation today. We'll definitely stay in touch, but again, thank you so much for joining us today for our GovChats. If I'm sure folks can find you on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
uh, and check out some of the other amazing work the state of Colorado is doing. So yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Questions, comments, everything is encouraged, and yeah, LinkedIn is where I'm always there and active. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me uh, if you have anything to say.
It looks like we do have a question here, and I believe it's somebody that you may know. Um, Ploy?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, of course I know.
Okay. Let's see. They say that they still tell people about this program, and it's one of the most successful product launches of the state. So kudos to you. Their first question: how did you manage navigating the MVP? Often, a lot of state leaders want all the features at once. I think you kind of answered that. Um, you guys had control of the roadmap, and
Right.
you had control of refining the backlog and things like that, and determining what was MVP based on your research and the needs of the constituents that you were building this for. So, there's anything else you want to add to that?
No, no, that's about right. So basically, and now so that's where it goes. Owning the product management role was crucial here, right? So because like we said, all the difficult decisions had to be made, and who best to make that decision but the family business and
Mhm.
or a product manager who's got both feet, one feet on the business side, the other feet on the technology side, and is able to negotiate with the different stakeholders, making sure that we are building what we need to build for, for version one, and not to over engineer anything, right? And then take a agile approach to everything, and at the same time stay compliant.
Oh yeah,
So that's what I would say.
can't forget that agile part. Like that is
Yes.
very important. Um, and then This question here is also from Chloe. What is it like being one of the greatest of all time product leaders at the state?
Oh man, I couldn't answer that. That's that's
We may need to hold another hour for that. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, no, yeah. It's a teamwork, and it was the whole organization that we just lucked out that all the right people, it came in, like, it came for the mission and did the right thing. And I must say that Ploy had also a huge role in getting this, a program started off from the ground up because she did the initial, market research and all that. So, huge thanks and kudos to her as well.
Well, great job, Chloe. But
Mm,
also give yourself kudos because um, good leaders, are easy to follow. So,
mm,
if you didn't have the vision and the leadership skills that you have, I'm sure this probably wouldn't have been as successful as it was. So definitely give yourself some credit.
okay.
And then we have a question from my friend Liz here at GTA.
All right.
Your work with the state with state employers lighten their administrative burden as it relates to family and medical leave programs? So that's a great question. Like you mentioned how you included their processes in building this application so as to not add to their burden. But do
Correct.
you
Correct.
think that this program
I
actually
think
light?
so. I think from a very, I mean, from very outset, that we had decided that we would build a digital first system. That means we almost have no paper-based transactions at all, and we also invested heavily on automation. A lot of things just are takes place in the background. Of course, as we learn more and more about processes and things that needs to be automated, we put it in the backlog and prioritize them as well. But the whole idea is to make sure that not only our users and constituents are benefited from our design thinking, but our own staff as well as the state. Wherever possible, we automate and make sure that there's no work that's being done manually just because you know
Yeah,
it had to be done, or that was the tradition, right? So
yeah, nice. Okay, yeah, that's great. Um, let's see.
yeah, there was no I could read the question. So yeah, so there wasn't any family. Uh, I mean, so it didn't replace anything. So we didn't have a system, a program like this. So it was from ground up. And
Awesome. Yeah,
then
that was actually another question just came in. Did you replace something? So that you answered that question. Yeah, so it was from the ground up. Didn't replace anything, and just improve the lives of Colorado employees. So that's great. And no question, but someone just wanted to say, this is actually my friend Brielle wanted to say that we need this for all employees across the country. So Naim,
yeah, we do.
we need to procure your
Yes, we
brain.
do. I mean, we are waiting, hoping for the day when this will go federal, right? Where
Yeah,
this will be adopted. This sort of program will be adopted at a federal level. But until then, well, our struggle will continue. And we are actually, working with lots of other states who are just trying to build the system now. And we are always make ourselves available for any type of you know insights or guidances that we could give. So
yeah.
we work very closely together.
Well, I hope that yes, your expertise has continued to be sought after, and that we, just keep fighting a good fight, and hopefully, yeah, what we do reaches the federal level because it could benefit there. Excuse me. Um, will there be a recording? Yes, we are recording this, so stay posted for the information about how to access this recording after the meeting here. And this is Zoom, by the way. This is not WebEx for that person who asked that question. Okay. All righty. Well, thank you
Thank
again.
you.
This was sweet. I kind of want to keep talking, but we got it scheduled for 45 minutes. But thank you again. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing what Colorado does in the future.